Hey, welcome back to BlockRoots. It's Josh. It's late night edition. I am doing a video because it's been a couple of days since we've done one here on BlockRoots. We have done some stuff over on the BlockRoots website in community area. I'll talk about that in a minute, but as always, when we talk about financial markets, do your own research. Nothing is financial advice. Now, really, we've had a mass sell-off, right, over the past few days. A lot of people have been worried, hopefully, that you're healthy. I know that some of you are being impacted by COVID-19 coronavirus. If your families are, Ryan and I, we wish you well. We wish you fast recovery and all the best. We hope and pray for everybody else out there that you're safe. And so just want to say that as well, because there are more important things in life besides the markets, right? But we do this because we care, we're passionate about it, and so we'll go ahead and, it's not much better on the markets, right? So with Bitcoin, definitely over the past few weeks, we've seen some sell-off, some drawdown. Right now, currently, we're taking a breather here, going sideways. So really what we'll talk about is, where we're at, where we've been, and where we're going. Now, if you do want, more updates, if you want weekly updates on altcoins, right now it's harder to give altcoin updates, right? Because everything's selling off. It doesn't really make sense. But for the most part, and a part of the BlockRoots community, if you're interested in that, go to BlockRoots.com. It is our own website and community group and educational platform. And again, if you don't understand the markets, we've got some stuff for you. Introduction to markets, futures, hedging, options, understanding markets, essential technical analysis. Check it out. Again, a lot of great information. We're a small community, less than 150 people, if that. I think one myth is that people think is that you have to be a full-time professional trader in order to trade and make money, and that's not the truth. You can do it part-time. A lot of what Ryan and I like to do is we like to get in and out during the day. We like to do a lot of intraday trading. So, we'll do some long-term swing plays, especially if we catch a nice trend. We'll also definitely hold some spot Bitcoin, but, we try to take advantage of these volatile moves in Bitcoin. And so if you see, and then we also don't have to sleep on positions, which is always great, right? Because you never know when it's going to sell off when you're sleeping, or pump and then sell off, and then you miss taking profits. So, but anybody in the end can learn how to trade. We encourage you to come check it out. And again, we don't hold you hostage. You can do it month by month and cancel anytime. So, and if you are a trader, by the way, if you haven't checked out Phemex yet, we encourage you to go check out Phemex.trade. You can just go there. The great thing about Phemex is that they're continuously updating their platform. We do talk with the CEO and their team on a weekly basis, just because, again, we feel like it's important. We know the background and the integrity of this company and the people and the experience that they have. And it's great to be able to talk to a company and say, look, this is what we would like to see featured into a platform, a trading platform. So if you're a trader, check it out. Phemex.trade is our link. They've actually added link Tezos and LTC. So they've added Litecoin in the last couple of days. And the rumor is they've got a pretty exciting addition next week that no other major platform has as far as a pair. But just be on the lookout for that, because I think that that's also going to be somewhat of a game changer when that comes out here in the next week's Phemex.trade. So let's talk about the market, right? So where have we been? Well, where are we at and where are we going? But basically, yeah, we're having a sell-off right now, but when you zoom out, right, it's not that scary. I mean, we've had plenty of these on the downtrend back in 2018, the capitulation area, and we've had plenty of those also in the past year. So this, again, will pass just like everything else, but Bitcoin basically rallied, went up for 2 months, up to around 10,500. What we've seen from there is that if we actually zoom in a little bit, and we'll see that price actually topped out here, dropped to 8,500, and then a nice little fake out to around 9K, kind of a wedge, as we'd call it, and then a drop down from there. Overall, the total drop's been about, 20, where price is at now is around 25%. So that's a nice little drop, but as we say in crypto, just another week at the office, right? So that's nothing abnormal in the crypto markets, but we also know that equities and traditional markets are dropping like crazy, 10% or more, 5%. Some of these days, they just haven't seen a drop like that since 2008. So definitely scary if you're not into crypto, if you're not used to those things. But but we have had a drop. Now, where are we currently at, right? So Bitcoin sold off in the past week, 25%, or the past couple of weeks, 25% from the top. And so right now, I'll go ahead and zoom in again. You're going to notice that on the 4-hour chart, right, this major area, this little block that I have here is serving as resistance. And so I actually did mark that earlier. I did talk on Telegram about this area being an area to watch. We want to see it close above that. If it closed above that, I think that we'd move on and go up here to around, 83 to 85. If you zoom out, it's going to be closer to like 83 to 84.50. And then on up to 8,500, maybe 8,600. But overall, it's got to break above this area first. But this is not abnormal at all. Basically, what we've done, after you drop sharply like this, after you have that expansion, you're going to have some relief. You need some sideways, right, for things to build up. And what we could see here is just maybe possibly some more compression. So if we continue to get lower highs and higher lows as it compresses right here, what's going to eventually happen is it's going to build up, and we could certainly see it pop above this resistance area, but I do want to see it close above, close to 80.50 or 8,100. I want to see it close above that, close on the 4-hour at least, and then from there continue to move on up for me to be somewhat short-term bullish. That's what I see right now. Now, in the short term, it's not really great that it wasn't able to close above that. So for price to move right back down here, as long as we continue to range up and put higher lows in, that's a good sign for me. It could always do a compression pattern and drop down. It's not out of the question for that to happen, okay? And so what happens if we drop? If we were to go out here to the day chart, if we were to drop here at the day chart, obviously you see this high volume node area. The area to watch is obviously if we get through this area where it's currently holding, right, with these high volume nodes, we're going to make our way down here to 7,200 eventually, okay? We can certainly bounce around 7,500, bounce slightly, but then eventually we're going to make our way to this area, which is 7,100 to 7,250. And I'll tell you right now that breaking these lows, breaking this market structure right here, it's this range is not out of the question, okay? It can certainly happen because what we're experiencing now is something that we haven't seen in years, and that is the COVID-19, a black swan. A black swan is an unforeseen event that can cause the market to crash, right? That's kind of the name for a black swan and what happens. And so nobody saw this happen. Some people in the infectious disease have been thinking about this for a long time, but the population and market as a whole couldn't predict this, right? So we were thinking about possible eventual recession when it comes to the traditional markets. And of course, a lot of people talked about a black swan in crypto. Most people talked about an exchange shutting down. A lot of people talked about Bitfinex and Tether. People are even saying Binance could shut down and could cause a lot of chaos. But again, those things are things that are very normal that we talk about, that we actually predict. A black swan is something that you don't really see. And so this is probably the perfect black swan when it comes to the markets, because we know that the COVID-19 not only impacts people just being sick, it impacts healthcare, but it also impacts the economy greatly. And then we know that Bitcoin still isn't a risk-off asset, so where people are going to hedge into that, right, when traditional markets are selling off. You have to understand that Bitcoin is likely to continue to sell off with traditional markets, right? So we know that a lot of big players in traditional markets are selling both their gold, so gold actually reduced a little bit, along with their Bitcoin in order to protect themselves from liquidations or being margin called in traditional markets, because again, when price goes down so much, they need to sell some of these other assets to give them, to ease that tension, right? So that's just important to understand. And so again, Bitcoin could certainly go down here, but the first place that I'm going to look at if we continue to break down, right, is going to be around the 7,200, 71 to 7,300 area. I would expect a bounce in that area, possible bounce back up here to high 7,000s. And then if things don't get better, of course, we could see a continual, sell off down. But where could we go, right? So one thing that a lot of people are looking at, I'm going to go down the old trusty Brave New Coin Liquid Index. Speaking of trusty, we're talking about the trend line here, right? And so, somewhat of a meme because big players aren't saying, okay, we see the trend line here, price is right at the trend line, or possibly even maybe breaking below it right now. But it's just holding here, and of course, if it breaks below here, we're just going to sell all our Bitcoin and just continue to sell off. And no, they're not thinking that. So I don't want you to fear that if price goes below here, I mean, it could go below here just a little bit and then move back up. Even if price continues to move down from here, trend lines really are meant to be broken. I wouldn't really put a lot of faith in the trend line overall. You can continue to draw all kinds of trend lines here and make it work, right? Trend lines can be somewhat subjective. And a lot of people are talking about this trend line right now, possibly breaking. This could be a big deal. And what I mean is, who cares? Is if it breaks, it doesn't mean that it's going down forever, right? It could go down to 6,400 again and just wick down here and bounce right back up. So don't put too much faith in this trend line. I'd rather you look even at major moving averages. These are things that people tend to look at as far as big traders in the overall market. Now, what you're going to notice here is if I zoom in, one major area, the first is the 100 weekly moving average, and that's actually around 7,200, right? Okay, so that's major confluence here, even below this trend line, but major confluence, regardless of how you draw it, right? We could even draw it down here. But point being is, it's likely with confluence here, it's gonna likely bounce at that area, right, at 7,200. So a lot of people, self-fulfilling prophecy, are going to be putting bids in this area. So you're going to likely see around this or slightly below price bounce. Now, if price somehow bounces and comes back down and creates new lows, a big area to look at, right, is still this block area, which luckily now we see that the 200 weekly moving average has now moved equal to or above that area. So that has been an area that we've been looking at since way down here, right? Because that same moving average held up Bitcoin back in December of 2018. And if we continue to scroll on down here too, right, you're gonna notice that the 200 weekly moving average also held price up. It did wick below, but the closing price it held above during the week. So we can have days go below this, but more than likely, if anything, if for some reason the price dropped below the 7,200, this 100 weekly moving average, and moved down to around the 200 weekly moving average, around 55 to 6,000, then that's where most people are going to go all in. And so likely also most people are to get front run at that area. Depending, could it go below that? I'm not going to worry about that. First thing I'm going to look at and worry about is 7,200. And from there, if it breaks down there, I'm going to be looking around, again, this area of market structure, 6,400, low 6,000s, and then we'll start to look at 5,500 in the 200 weekly moving average. So that's certainly where we could go. Again, having a major sell-off currently right now, Bitcoin is looking to go some sideways here, and I foresee sideways action and some possible compression. If we can go and we can make it back above that same area that I talked about, right, this area right here, then we're going to be maybe sitting pretty for a bounce up to mid 8,000s. If we're unable to do that, of course, I see it breaking down 7,500 down to 7,200, eventually bouncing from there. And then from there, that's where it gets fun, because we don't really know, right? So whether how far it goes up, or if it continues just to move on up, or if it continues to move on down after that, I would say whenever you're trading Bitcoin, if you're newer to trading Bitcoin, just understand that the lower the price goes, the tighter your stops have to be. Because again, a $100 move at 10,000 Bitcoin, right? That's 1%. But a $100 move at 6,000 or 7,000 Bitcoin is a lot more than that. So you end up losing a lot more sats when you're wrong, when the trade goes against you. So you have to be really careful. Definitely make sure to set those stops tight. But with that said, a quick market update from us at BlockRoots. Feel free to check out BlockRoots.com. Don't forget to check out Phemex.trade if you want to look more into margin trading. And you guys make sure to stay safe out there, trade effectively, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks.